Alright, let's continue studying the semicircular parries. So for today I thought that let's have a look like how can we do the downward semicircular parry and how to cut from there. So for example, in the manuscript there is this one play that one of the players is thrusting to the face, and then the other guy will do something like this, go with the krukke, and then in the next picture the same person is doing the shield slag. Now I think the text says that the shield slag is actually a direct counter to this thrust, so it doesn't have the krukke, it's referring to two images before. But let's see if it could be done still like it is in that order in the book. But first of all, a recap. So we are using the semicircular parry, which is based on this circular motion or round cut either way. So that's the basis of the movement. So we have like downward and then upward. That's that. So if this branch here is like a sword pointed at me, and if I want to do the semicircular parry downward, like last time, it can be simply done either from the second guard or half shield, it doesn't matter. You just take control of the opponent's sword and you push it down, then we are here. So the standard response here would be a thrust, but now we don't want to do that. So what we do instead is we do the shield strike and at the same time go to the fifth. So now our sword is free. Our sword is free here. So quite simply from here we can cut. So if I want to cut downward, I go to the second and then we end here, which is the image in that particular play. So let's have a look at that again. So for example, from half shield I would do this, just this. Let's do it again. So from half shield, control, shield strike, in we go. And I would like to point out that this cut, it can be downward. So we go here, we go into fifth. It can be high horizontal, but it can also be upward. So it doesn't really matter what the cut is. It's kind of irrelevant. The relevant thing is that what we are doing. So we are using this round cut motion or semicircular parry here. So it's actually this. So it's kind of I move here and then I do the semicircular parry here and then I cut. But of course in a more like dynamic way, you will just go in, do it like that, for example. So that's one way to do it. So what's the other way? So we had this descending circular cut motion, but we can also now have it like ascending. So it means it's upward. Because in it's a bit low. Anyway, so from half shield we can go here and cut upward. So we can end up here in the krukke, like in the play. So how can we get from here to here? There are a few ways to do that. I will show them. So let's assume that we do this first. So it's downward semicircular cut, but it's like ascending cut. So then we can do that. Do the shield strike and cut upward. We can do that. Shield strike horizontal, or we can do that, cut through and change direction. So this can be done. That was downward that was horizontal, and this is upward. So in all cases it works too. And once again, the cut direction, it's more or less irrelevant, because you always use the cut descending, ascending, horizontal, high or low, based on what is open. So you aim to the opening available for you. So you can choose. And I'm using the front edge. Of course you could cut with the back edge, but it doesn't matter in the basic setup here. So is this everything? No, it's not. We have one more thing at least. So we still come to the krukke. So now we have control of the opponent's sword over here. Then from here, if the opponent doesn't move, or we have some time, we can do the mutatio gladi on this side. It's typically done on the other side, but now we can do it here, and we end up in the first play. So it would look something like this. You go here. But I'm not sure if it's done like that. It's a little bit tricky to do it, but you can, you can do it, because in reality you would be cutting the other guy's sword away, kind of following it up, keeping it down, and then you go. Because with this one, with the krukke, they can start, coming over you if you don't do anything. So in the practical sparring application, if you go to krukke, of course you should probably trust, like it's in the manuscript. But if your opponent starts to do something crazy, like they're gonna be cutting back at you, then of course you can counter that and come in. So this is the one side. So what about the other side? Let's try. So the first one was downward round cut. So it works a similar way, but it's getting a little bit maybe more tricky. Now we have to start from the left shoulder or third, or from half shield. So we go here then, take control, step here, and now we could thrust, right? But we are not going to thrust. So instead we go into the first. Do the shield strike if we can, and cut from here. So here, here, something like that. Take control of the sword, go to first, control with the buckler, and then you cut. Go. This is two week training partner for me today. Okay, let's see. I get stuck to the trees. And then of course, if you end up like this here, you need to think what you are gonna do. Are you gonna be cutting upward from below the opponent's sword, or are you gonna be releasing this hand for a second so that you can cut here? But then your opponent's blade can come into you. So it's not advisable to do it like that. So it's much better to do it like this. So as you notice, when I'm cutting this round cut, my buckler hand is below the sword hand, like in the manuscript. So I think this is preferred, not the other way around, because it's more difficult to cut from here. You can do it. Okay. So that's basically it. Then there would be, of course, other options. So let's see. We did this, and then we did the krukke on this side. We could do the krukke on this side as well. So if you're coming from half shield, you can go into mirror krukke, and then of course take control of the opponent's sword with the buckler and cut from here. And you can do it like downward, horizontal, or of course you can do it also upward. But you have to use some power. So the idea is really to cut the opponent's sword away, not just like that, or just kind of small pressure. No, you have to actually be able to really push it. Otherwise it will stay on line. So you need to cut it up and then go. So usually you don't need even buckler control, you just cut that. That has to be really hard. Otherwise it's not gonna work in practice. If you just go here and do not apply any pressure, that's not the idea. You have to cut it. Cut the thing away. Unless you are thrusting, then you can keep control. But for cutting you want to clear some space and then you go. Okay. So if you were too weak, you can end up here. You could thrust, or what else can you do? You are below. Mutatio gladi, right? So we go here and continue. Ah, it didn't work. I'm gonna go here. So it's like pressure, gonna go. So you can go big if you practice, or you can go small. Either way, depends on the situation. How much time do you need? Do you have to back out from there, get backward before you can get forward? I don't know. So, what's more? In generic sense, krukke is of course just one motion. So we came in from here or from here, but you can also come in from here and lift. So then you are here in the high parry. I'm not sure if this is in the manuscript. I don't think it is. But if you're using this upward motion, you can just go here. It might be. And then you have to play a little bit like the krukke play anyway, so you can cut from there. The same for the other side. So if you are going upward, you can bind here, we end up here, and then you can just come in and cut. It's a little bit Japanese, you know. But it's the same idea anyway. So this is like high parry. But it's maybe more useful for against the cuts coming down. For thrusting, yeah, it can work, but it's maybe a little bit dangerous because the thrust is coming in so fast. So it's more safe to take it offline there rather than here. But you can do it, or here. Okay, so to recap, if we are looking into that one play, starting from half shield, then into this krukke. So now you know what you can do. You can cut from there, but of course it's much easier from half shield just to do this standard play. And if we are going in from this side with the semicircle cut, we end up here, then of course you can release your sword and cut in from here. But this is something to experiment. What works the best for you? I think all these can be used. Even this, like come in here, you are stopped, then you just take the motion from there. So this mutatio gladi type of movement. That can be done, but it's like two movements. It can be fast, but it's still two movements. And usually the opponent doesn't stay here. The opponent, when you go here, they will do something because the weapon is not fully in control. They can move away. So keep that in mind. But if you have the time, if you cannot thrust from here, you can do the mutatio gladi, and then you are on top, and then you just go in, and it's gonna be most likely game over. So anyway, some more thoughts about that. I think we have the basics down at the moment. We have all the cutting, changing the direction of the cutting. We have the schützen done using the half shield or krukke, and then the semicircles for catching a thrust. And then of course we can just cut into the thrust as well, either downward or upward. And those were some options of what you can do if you're stuck. So then you just go over and get here. And I think with these ones you can do all the standard plays in the manuscript already quite nicely. Then there are those special things like the wrestling, taking away the sword, taking away the buckler, which is actually not shown. There are no images, but it's there. It's implied in the text and can be found in other manuals. So we can leave those out for the moment because we are trying to understand the basic system behind the 133. And now we know that there are always like many options what to do. But the manuscript, I think, only typically uses not everything, but maybe one of the different options. And the reason I think is why, because the people in the manuscript, there is this older priest teaching the younger guy. So when you are teaching beginners, you are not going to give out all the options straight away. You are giving the most useful or most easy to understand or the most easily applicable option to practice. So that's something to keep in mind. So in my head at least, the play should go with the easiest possible execution for somebody who is just trying to learn the sword play. So if you take it from that viewpoint, if you take these principles, you can think like, okay, what's the easiest way to do this? And then maybe you are on the right track with the interpretation of the manual. Otherwise, you can do like whatever complicated stuff, but maybe it's not for beginners. So for beginners, you are using big motions first, and later we can make this a lot smaller. But if you are teaching beginners, it's big motions first, usually. And then later we can do like really small cuts or whatever. But they are still based on the same kind of movement when we are using the big one, big motions. It's just a lot smaller here. This is much more difficult to pull off than these big motions. You know, this is like a figure eight cutting with the really small motions, and now I'm taking it like big. So small motions would be this. Of course we can do this, but it's not for beginners. They don't have the strength, they don't have the coordination yet developed, so we are developing with big motions. That's how it looks to me. So the sword goes down, usually to knee level, in many cases in the manuscript. So it's not staying high here like people are trying to reconstruct it. Yes, maybe later, but if we try to reconstruct the manuscript, big motions to understand the mechanics, and then later we can make them smaller, you know. Okay, that's it for today. Let's see what comes out from my head next time. Take care, bye bye.